What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and in this video we're going to be taking a look at how good is young Boyd and some of the builds that you can run on him. So he's a axe infantry unit with 181 BST and he comes with large war axe. This is essentially a 19 might weapon as it gives him +3 attack. He gets different effects on odd turns and on even turns, and this is pretty much like a biorhythm weapon. So on the odd turns he can get massive +10 attack and speed during the combat, and he also gets debuff neutralization to his attack and speed. And finally he can also do 15% true damage on his first attack. So on the odd turns he gets extremely powerful, and then unfortunately on the even turns not really so much. He gets +5 attack and speed during the combat. On the even turns, I guess you can just think that this is gonna be a rain axe essentially, and on the odd turns he's gonna be putting in the work. And he also has these stats which really go well with this kind of playstyle of hitting really hard. He has got base 43 attack with the super boon in it, so he can hit extremely hard with this 19 might axe, and the fact that he can get massive boost in the odd turns. He also has a lot of points allocated to his HP, so that could be helpful if you're trying to run Infantry Pulse or Panic Ploy. His base speed is 36, so he's not going to be too fast compared to the modern units, but still it's workable for a free-to-play unit. And then he's got alright defense and low resistance. So Boyd could be compared to a couple of the other axe infantry units, and unfortunately he completely eclipses our last free axe infantry unit, Gonzalez, because Gonzalez does not have a preferred weapon. Boyd does have an inconsistent preferred weapon in this axe, which only works on the odd turns, giving him that massive boost, but at the end of the day, he still has a 19 might weapon and a preferred weapon which may get some kind of weapon refined couple of years down the line. Basilio is from the normal summoning pool and he also has pretty similar stat spread to Boyd, but he's going to be a lot slower but a lot bulky on the physical side. Ninja Shamir is also a really popular merge project for arena use case. Both of these units score the same, but because of having a preferred weapon, Boyd does not have to run a 300 SP Slotsy skill to get the max scoring. So Ninja Shamir does have a lot more speed, also has a speed super boon, so she can run the damage reduction skills a bit better than Boyd, and she also has higher resistance, which can definitely help you in the dragon matchups and also in the magical matchups. So depending on if you want to have more damage output or more speed, you can pick either of these axe infantry units. Boyd's fodder is nothing really too unique. Fire boost is just a joke in 2022, and infantry pulse is pretty much the skill that he provides. So I guess if you have invested into Marissa or you have killed way too many Marissas, then he could be an option for this skill. So overall Boyd ends up being a pretty decent unit. I wouldn't really say that he's something too insane, despite the fact that he does get really strong on the odd turns. The thing is that his weapon is a bit inconsistent because on the even turns it just gives him +5 attack and speed. Now these are really great to have and definitely much better than, just having a rain axe, because the might of this weapon is higher, and even this kind of odd and even turn mechanic which has been done a lot better on constants. Boyd for some reason only gets stats in the even turns. We're in a time in FEH where raw stats are not everything. You need to also have the unique effects to stand out and swing the matchups in your favor. So it's a bit unfortunate because the standard of the young free seasonal unit that we have seen has been set so high after the last year when we got young Ines, who's still a very relevant archer, and before that we also got young Minerva, who at that time was really good as well. She also came with a preferred skill. Having a preferred weapon is definitely better than having no preferred weapon, don't get me wrong, but it's just that we have so many axe infantry units that Boyd still is going to be facing that competition in terms of standing out, because if you've already built up Ninja Shamir, Gonzalez, Basilio, you're probably not going to be going out of your way to build up another one of these. While in the case of young Ines, last year, young Ines did something so unique which other archers in the free-to-play pool just cannot do, which is have Deadeye in their weapon. So he does have extremely good attack stats, so the good news is that he can hit extremely hard on the odd turns, and that is going to be his selling point. And he also scores 185 BST with his attack super boon, so that could be a really nice free-to-play arena option for a lot of players who are trying to upgrade their arena core. And unlike a lot of the other axe infantry units without a preferred weapon, he can age better because of having this one at least, because maybe a couple of years down the line he can get a weapon refined, so he can age a bit better compared to a seasonal unit who does not have a preferred weapon, because there's no precedence of those kinds of units getting a weapon refined. So overall, he's a decent free-to-play unit, but not going to be something that is going to be incentivizing everyone to invest into him. But still, if you're looking for an axe infantry unit, he can be an option from the Grail pool. So if you want to build him up on a budget, then Fury does work out. He doesn't really have an HP threshold, and this weapon does work in both phases. Desperation could be a nice budget slot B option, but you could also run a Link skill. Infantry Pulse is still pretty nice on a budget to just help your allies, and Blade Session at the end is going to be helping you with the offenses, because even at unmerge, he can definitely hit pretty hard. If you invest into him heavily with plus and merge, then you can run a double solo skill on him, and null follow-up could be an option because he's going to be pretty fast with his preferred weapon and the double solo skills, so this can allow you to bypass the follow-up negation of the units who are not going to be dying to a single attack of his, and there are definitely going to be units like that who are extremely bulky or have some kind of damage reduction. Glimmer could be a special that you can run on him because his damage output is really high, and the higher your damage output goes, Glimmer becomes a better special than Moonbow in many situations, but still Moonbow is definitely going to be nice against those bulky opponents, so both of these are decent options for his special. I do prefer Glimmer though at this kind of max investment. If you want to invest into him extremely heavily and give him a premium skill like Attack Speed Ideal from the Divine Code section, then it could be an option, and Odd Tempest actually works out really great for Boyd because it doubles down on the odd turn effect of Large War Axe. So Boyd not only can hit extremely hard in the odd turns, he's also going to be having 3 movement, and this is pretty much going to be playing into his strengths. Now, I wouldn't really suggest you to run the wave skills or something like that just because you see here Odd Tempest. Tempest skill here can improve his mobility, but the wave skills are not going to be a good addition in the Sacred Seal or even in the Slot C if you're thinking about it, because there are just 100 million ways of buffing up your units, and you should not be occupying the really coveted Slot C skill or the Sacred Seal with those skills when you can just buff him up with some support unit or just some ally who's maybe running a tactic skill. So that's why Odd Tempest is pretty much the odd skill I would recommend on him instead of recommending the wave skills or something like that. And the Tempest skill does have good synergy with the Ideal skill because it does count as a buff essentially when he gets the extra movement, so it could be run. You could also use him with a Spurn build, but this kind of build definitely requires a lot more speed because while his speed is workable, it's not the highest, and to get the max out of this kind of damage reduction skill, you definitely need to boost his speed. So on the odd turns, he's going to be at the best, getting that plus 10 speed, and Summoner support can also help with this kind of build, just to improve his speed. And the attack super boon is definitely something that the Boyd users are going to be going for, and speed could be an asset that you could choose with the Floret. We also have Surge Sparrow, which is definitely a bit harder to get, but this could be a player phase build if you're mainly going to be trying to use him in the odd turns. So again, he's going to be getting that mobility, and with the Surge Sparrow, he can get the healing off. He doesn't really get any kind of bulk out of this weapon, so that healing can be definitely pretty nice for keeping him healthy. And finally, if you want to use him in Aether offense in a competitive game mode, then you could use him as a Gale Force unit. He can run Heavy Blade because he has got really big attack stats, so Aether is one of those game modes where you can plan to use him on the odd turn. He's not going to be tanking things, but here he's going to be offensive. And of course, he doesn't have access to the Trace skills or the Canto, so it doesn't really fit into the hit and run archetype. So the way you can use him is pretty much as a Gale Force unit with Wings of Mercy. So you set up Wings of Mercy with a Double Fury unit or with Winter Bernadetta, and then Boyd can teleport in. And Time Pulse is super needed here because he needs to have a 410 Gale Force in order to trigger that into hits, even against the range units. So this is pretty much one of the best ways of using Boyd in Aether Raids and also making use of his strength. And as a plus 10 merge project in Arena, he does score 185 BST, so again he can have a Bruiser build with Attack Speed Ideal and Odd Tempest, and this build is not running any kind of distant counter. This is going to be for the melee matchups where you can go in and hit really hard on the odd turns. You can also run Gale Force if you want to with this build, but I definitely like having a Sacred Seal that can increase the speed because the arena threats are going to be extremely fast. Attack Super Boon is definitely something you have to go for if you are trying to get the max score in Arena with Boyd. He needs that Super Boon to reach 185 BST. One of the ways of using this kind of high attack axe infantry unit is to basically make it so that he can retaliate back with a special and just one-shot the opponents. So for example, if a Legendary Crom initiates against Boyd, he can hit extremely hard, and by using his Darting Breath and Ruptured Sky as a 2 cooldown special, he can just kill a lot of the units with his high attack stat, and also the fact that he does get the true damage out of this weapon. So increasing his attack and then relying on this kind of playstyle also works out with a distant counter build. So this is not for tanking stuff, but rather just killing stuff in a single hit by retaliating with a Breath, Sacred Seal, and a 2 cooldown special. At max investment for Arena, you can definitely run Vital Astra, which is definitely going to be giving you more damage output than Ruptured Sky against non-dragon and non-beast opponents. And Distant Dart and Joint Drive attack could be obtained from Duo Ike, which is present on the Young banner. So Distant Dart does help him have a lot more speed, and he can be a lot faster to make use of the null follow-up. And at the max investment, he can definitely reach a pretty good amount of speed to make use of Vital Astra more as a damaging special rather than using it as a damage reduction tool, if it makes sense. But I guess if you're running him with Legendary Male Byleth, if you have him at +10 merge, then you can definitely just skip running null follow-up and instead run the Spurn skill or something like a damage reduction skill, like Close Call. So that could be done, and the new tempo skill from Young Mia is also an option which can be run with these kinds of one-shot builds because it will have good synergy. But unfortunately, that tempo skill is a bit more expensive. So null follow-up is going to be doing fine from the Divine Code section, which you can easily get. Boyd is a pretty nice free-to-play unit, but he can definitely be improved, and that inconsistency is something which I've tried to fix with this Theorycraft. So first of all, I would give him -1 special cooldown from his weapon instead of giving him +3 attack. And this straight up just makes him a better unit because now he has got the option of running Time Pulse and Vital Astra to pre-charge it. And then I've changed the odd and even turns effect a bit. So on the odd turns, he can get +6 attack and speed during the combat. I have reduced it from the massive +10 in order to give him better effects in the even turns, as you'll see. And then he can still have the debuff neutralization, and his true damage is actually going to be 20% instead of being 15% because he's only going to be doing that true damage on his first attack. So might as well make it a lot more worth. And the main change comes here in the even turns. And then he can heal up 7 HP on every attack during the combat, and that can keep him nice and healthy if he took some damage on the odd turns. And finally, he can get 30% damage reduction on foe's first attack. So this makes him into a unit who can be a lot offensive on the odd turns, and on the even turns he can tank a lot better because of the damage reduction and also because of the healing. So we have seen this before on Constance, where both even and odd turns effect can be good, and you just don't have to polarize one or the other. You can still make weapons really strong and interesting without making them absurdly insane. Not every weapon needs to be of Fury or Legendary Seeker. I do understand that, but still it could be a lot more interesting, and that's pretty much what I've tried with this Theorycraft. So let me know in the comments what do you think about this, and if you would have liked to have this kind of Boyd with this kind of weapon with these changes. Hope you all enjoyed my Boyd review. Make sure to share this video with your friends who are trying to build him up. And if you enjoyed, then make sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using Super Thanks or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more FEH analysis videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are unfortunately not even strong on the odd turns. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.